In this problem setup, Wonder Woman and Batman and Spider-Man all have ropes attached to a villain. On the left side, Wonder Woman pulls on her Lasso of Truth with a force of 250 newtons. The angle is 180 degrees. On the right side, Batman is using the BatGrapplingHook attached around the villain at the center. He's pulling with a force of 200 newtons at 0 degrees. Finally, Spider-Man has spun a web attached to the bad guy. He's pulling with 110 newtons at 75 degrees. What is the net force on the villain in this case? I'm going to simplify that diagram in this way. Batman and Wonder Woman are pulling at opposing angles to each other, so I simply get to subtract 250 minus 200. I have a net force horizontally of 50 newtons. The Wonder Woman force is larger, so the net will be to the left of 50 newtons. The webbing is 110 newtons at 75 degrees still. So now let's draw a vector diagram. I'm going to just sketch one here. This will not necessarily be drawn to scale. The webbing force is going to move over here, and it'll be 110 newtons. This angle is 75 degrees. The question's asking for a net force. The net force is going to be the vector sum of these two forces, meaning this guy. The equilibrium force, which is not something I asked for, would be this same vector but in the opposite direction. So let's take the force of Wonder Woman and Batman and the force of Spider-Man's web, and we're going to find the x component and the y component of each. The Wonder Woman Batman is purely an x vector. I'm going to call the left direction negative x. So this would be negative 50 newtons. The y component of the Wonder Woman Batman vector is 0. The spider's web. Okay. This one, remember, is 110 newtons, 75 degrees. Let's draw the x and y components here, or sketch them. Here's the x component. Here's the y component. The spider's web vector in the x direction is 110 times the cosine, 75 degrees. According to my calculator, that is 28.5 newtons into the positive x direction. The spider's web in the y direction, this vector, is 110 times the sine of 75 degrees. According to my calculator, that is 106.3 newtons. Let's now sum up all the vectors. So the sum of the forces in the x direction, negative 50 plus 28.5. Negative 28.5 newtons. Sum of the forces in the y direction, 0 plus 106.3. Okay. I now have two components of my net force vector. I have a vector component of 28.5 newtons to the left and a component of 106.3 newtons up. The resultant vector is here. Pythagorean theorem. Give you that resultant force. Is 110.1 newtons. The angle of this corner of the triangle is about 75 degrees. Measured from 0, that would be an angle of 180 minus or 105 degrees. This is the net force acting on the bad guy, 110.1 newtons at an angle of 105 degrees.